I've always been careful when exploring the deep web. I know the rules. Never download anything. Never enter chat rooms where people ask for personal information. Never click on links you don't trust. I've followed these rules for years, treating it like a controlled experiment. A dark curiosity, nothing more. My friends knew about my interest and, over time, they convinced me to start making YouTube videos about it. At first, it was just for fun, talking about creepy sites, urban legends, and the weirdest things I'd found. I never showed anything illegal, never went too deep. But my audience kept growing. The more I pushed the limits, the more views I got. And I started to enjoy the thrill of it. That's what led me to that night. The night I went too far. It started like any other recording session. I had OBS open, my mic ready, and my VPN running. A few subscribers had sent me a link, claiming it led to an impossible website, a place you could only visit once. They swore that no one who entered it ever found it again. I didn't believe that, obviously. URLs don't just vanish. But I was intrigued. I clicked the link. At first, the page was empty, just a black screen. Then, white text faded in. Welcome. The cursor wouldn't move. I tried closing the browser. Nothing happened. My entire screen was frozen. Then my speakers let out a sharp static burst, and my room suddenly felt wrong. My door creaked. The air felt steel. That's when the real nightmare began. My monitor flickered. I tried to force a shutdown, but my keyboard was unresponsive. The mouse was useless. Even Task Manager wouldn't open. The only thing I could do was stare at the screen as the text changed again. Stay with us. Then, OBS crashed. My webcam light turned on by itself. The reflection in the screen showed my face, pale and tense, but something felt off. I wasn't alone in the reflection. There was someone behind me. I spun around. Nothing. Just my dark room. I grabbed my phone to turn on the flashlight, but the battery was dead. That didn't make sense. I had 80% just minutes ago. The lights flickered. My monitor went black, and then a video started playing. It was my webcam feed, but not live. It was a recording of me sitting at my desk, staring blankly ahead. But I wasn't moving. I wasn't blinking. I wasn't breathing. Then the screen distorted, static filling the display. My own face warped and twisted, stretching unnaturally. The audio turned into whispers, low and constant, speaking in a language I couldn't understand. The whispers got louder, rising to an unbearable screech, forcing me to cover my ears. I felt something behind me again, closer this time. The hairs on my neck stood on end. My chair rocked slightly as if someone had just touched it. I didn't want to turn around, but I had to. My breath caught in my throat as I slowly shifted my gaze. The shadows of my room seemed deeper now, darker than they should be. A shape flickered near the doorway, tall, thin, shifting as it struggled to stay in place. It twitched unnaturally, its form glitching like a corrupted video file. It took a step forward and the floor groaned under its weight. The video on my screen looped again, my unmoving face staring right through me. The thing at my door jerked its head towards me, as if acknowledging my presence. My body froze, every instinct screaming at me to run, but there was nowhere to go. My door was shut. The screen pulsed with another message. He sees you. Then the face appeared. It was warped, stretched like a digital glitch, a mouth too wide, eyes sunken but staring directly at me. The screen distorted as it got closer. The audio turned to garbled whispers. Then, in a clear voice, it spoke. Run. I pushed back from my desk. My door rattled violently. The handle twisted on its own. I tried to open it, but it wouldn't budge. The walls groaned as if something was pressing against them from the other side. Then the blood started seeping through. Dark streaks oozed down the walls, thick and slow. Faces began to emerge from the stains, stretching, forming hollow expressions. Their mouths opened, soundless, but I could feel their screams inside my head. They weren't just appearing. They were trying to escape. The room seemed to tilt. The air felt heavy, suffocating. I gasped for breath, my heart hammering against my ribs. The screen flashed again, but this time it wasn't just text. It was me, but not me. My reflection was grinning, its head tilting in sharp, unnatural angles. My lips moved, but the voice wasn't mine. "You don't belong here." Then the power cut out. My room was swallowed by darkness, but I wasn't alone. I grabbed my chair and slammed it against the door. The wood didn't even crack. My computer screen flashed again. The files on my desktop multiplied, filling every inch of the screen. The same message repeated in each file name. Run, 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 run. One file opened on its own. It was a text document. "There is no way out. You are with us now." The walls pulsed, shifting. The faces broke free, their limbs stretching unnaturally as they crawled from the walls. The air was thick with the smell of rot. My head throbbed, my vision blurred. They moved toward me, jerking, twitching, their fingers reaching. The light bulb above me shattered. The darkness swallowed the room. I clawed at the walls, desperate to escape, but my fingers found no purchase. Cold, skeletal hands wrapped around my wrist, pulling me downward. My own screams mixed with theirs, a chorus of suffering filling the room. My screen glowed one last time, flashing a final message before everything went back. "Welcome home." I woke up. My head jerked up from my desk. My monitor was normal. The door was fine. No blood, no faces, no whispers. I took a deep breath, trying to steady my hands. A nightmare. It had to be. Maybe I fell asleep mid-recording. I opened OBS to check the footage. Nothing was there. The recording had stopped before I clicked the link. There was no video, no evidence of what happened. I exhaled in relief, leaning back. Then I saw my desktop. The files were still there. A new document had appeared. Its title, just my name. My fingers trembled as I clicked it open. Inside, only one sentence stared back at me. "You never left." One file was open, a text document. My stomach clenched as I read the words. "Congratulations. You've seen it. You saw hell for a few seconds. That's where you're going when you die." My cursor moved on its own, highlighting the last sentence over and over again. My web light flickered on. Something behind me let out a slow, rasping breath. I didn't turn around.
I never cared much about online security. I used the same password everywhere, clicked on suspicious links, and shared way too much personal information on my social media. It never felt like a problem until the first email arrived. The subject line was my full name in all caps. Inside there was a single sentence, "We know everything," attached with screenshots, private conversations, bank statements, medical records, even old emails I had deleted years ago. At first, I thought it was some kind of scam. I ignored it. But then, my phone rang, a blocked number, a voice distorted by software. "Send 5,000 in Bitcoin within 24 hours, or your mother finds out where you've been hiding." I didn't pay. Why would I? I assumed they were bluffing. But the next day, my mother called me in tears. Someone had sent her an email with detailed accusations, things that weren't even true, but so carefully crafted they sounded real. She begged me to explain. I couldn't. I had no idea what was happening. I told her it was a mistake, but the damage was done. My relationship with her changed that day. She couldn't say it, but I could tell she didn't trust me anymore. Then, another email arrived, a video. It was footage of me sitting in my apartment staring at my phone. The timestamp was from last night. Someone had been watching me. My chest tightened. My fingers felt numb as I gripped my phone. I looked around the room, suddenly aware of every shadow, every open door. I tried to tell myself it was fake, some elaborate trick, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I wasn't alone. This was just the beginning. I locked all my doors and windows. I covered my webcam. I changed my passwords. None of it mattered. The next message proved that. Nice try. Check your front door. My heart pounded as I walked to the door. There was a package inside. A USB drive. I plugged it into an old laptop, afraid of what it might do to my main one. A video played. It was me again, this time sleeping. The camera angle suggested it was filmed from the inside of my room. My stomach twisted. I looked around, my skin crawling from the feeling of being watched. How long had they been inside? Were they still here? I ripped my bedroom apart searching for a hidden camera. Nothing. Another message arrived. You're wasting your time. We're inside already. I felt like I was going to be sick. I backed against the wall, gripping my phone so tightly my fingers ached. I considered calling the police. But what would I tell them? That someone had sent me a creepy email? That I felt like I was being watched? They wouldn't believe me. Another message came through. 10,000 by midnight, or we'll show her everything, I said in silence, staring at my screen. Then another message. Or you can pay in a different way. They gave me a choice. Pay them, or follow their instructions. Grab a knife. I didn't move. My hands were shaking. We're watching. If you don't do it, your mother pays the price. I walked to the kitchen like a puppet, my body moving without my permission. I picked up a knife, staring at my reflection in the steel. My breathing was shallow, my pulse hammering in my ears. I wanted to run, to throw my phone away and disappear, but I knew that wouldn't save me. Good. Now cut yourself, not too deep, just enough to show us you're serious. I pressed the tip of the blade against my palm. I hesitated, my skin prickled with cold sweat. I told myself not to do it, that it was all a game, that they couldn't actually reach me. But then I thought about my mother, about what they could do to her. Do it, or she suffers. I pressed harder. A thin line of red appeared. The pain barely registered. That's a good start. Now let's move on to something more interesting. Every night they sent me new instructions. Small things at first. Breaking a window, stealing from a store. It escalated fast. They made me follow strangers, take photos of their homes, their children. I was becoming a part of something terrible, and I couldn't stop. Then came the worst order. Choke her while she sleeps. Make it quick. If you don't, we are all going to torture her for days. She is going to beg to be dead. I stared at the screen for a long time. My mother, the woman who raised me, who loved me, who doubted me because of them. They wanted me to kill her. I didn't respond. I packed a bag and drove to her house. My hands felt numb on the wheel. My heart pounded in my ears. I didn't remember unlocking the door, but suddenly, I was inside, standing over her bed. She was breathing softly, peacefully, unaware. I moved towards the bathroom, filled the sink with cold water. My reflection looked like a ghost. I grabbed the bedsheet, soaked it, wrung it out. My hands were shaking so badly, I almost dropped it. I walked back to her, raised the wet towel over her face, lowered it. Her breathing hitched, her body tensed. She struggled, but I pressed harder. I wasn't myself. I was something else. And then, I let go. She gasped, sucking in air. I stumbled back, horrified by what I had done, what I had almost done. My phone buzzed. You disappointed us. I ran. I didn't take anything with me, just drove as far as I could. The messages didn't stop. Why are you running? We are going to find you after we end your mother. I changed numbers. They got the new one. I stopped using the internet. They still reached me. They didn't need my devices. They had my life. Then, one day, silence. No emails, no calls, no threats. I didn't trust it. Every noise outside made my skin crawl. I expected them to appear at any moment, to drag me into something even worse. But nothing happened. Just the waiting. Maybe they moved on. Maybe I wasn't fun anymore. Maybe they had already ruined me enough. I don't use my real name anymore. I live in a small town where no one knows me. I don't have a phone. I don't have a computer. I don't talk to my mother. I don't talk to anyone. I'm afraid. I'm afraid that they killed my mother. I don't even want to know. As far as she knows. If she's alive. The last time she saw me, I was trying to kill her. What else is left for me?
I moved in with my husband James 2 years ago. We had a nice, quiet house outside the city. It was a simple life. He worked from home, locked in his study most of the day, and I did freelance work online. We didn't have many friends, but we had each other, and that was enough. That night I was in the living room, scrolling through my phone. James was in his study as usual, the door locked like always. It was normal. Everything was normal. Then, the lights went out. The whole house plunged into darkness in an instant, as if someone had flipped a switch on reality itself. My phone screen became the only source of light, casting an eerie glow on my hands. The silence that followed was thick, unnatural. I waited for the hum of the refrigerator, the distant sound of cars from the road. But there was nothing, just complete, suffocating stillness. At first, I thought it was just a power outage. I checked my phone. No signal. The Wi-Fi was dead too. I looked outside. The street was completely dark. Even the neighbors' houses had no lights. The only thing visible was the pale glow of the moon. I swallowed hard, trying to steady my breathing. Something felt wrong, deeply wrong. Then I heard it. A noise outside. Footsteps on the gravel path. Slow, deliberate. I walked to the window and pulled back the curtain, just a little. People, a group of them, standing in front of the house, motionless, watching. My pulse quickened. There were at least 5 of them, dressed in dark clothing, their faces obscured by hoods. They weren't moving, just standing there like statues. I wanted to believe they were just passing by, maybe pranksters. But deep down, I knew this wasn't the case. Then, as if on cue, they took a step forward, together, in perfect unison. My breath caught in my throat. I stepped away from the window, heart pounding. I grabbed my phone again. No service, no way to call for help. The doorknob rattled. Someone was testing the lock. Then, another noise, a faint scratching at the back door. My stomach turned. I rushed to James's study and pounded on the door. "James, something's happening. Open the door." No answer. Not even a sound from inside. I turned back. The front door shook violently now. They were trying to break in. A dull thud echoed from the back of the house. Then another. My body tensed at the sound of glass shattering from the kitchen window. The air filled with the heavy scent of cold night air mixing with something metallic, something rotten. I ran. The sound of heavy boots crunching glass behind me sent a jolt of adrenaline through my veins. I dove into the hallway, nearly tripping over myself as I turned the corner. A cold sweat coated my skin. My hands trembled as I grabbed the nearest object. A lamp. Footsteps approached, slow and steady. I tightened my grip, ready to swing. A shadow moved into the hallway. My muscles locked up. The figure stepped forward, the dim light barely outlining his face. I hurled the lamp with everything I had. It shattered against his chest, but he barely reacted. Another one followed him. Then another. They were all coming inside. They were inside, and I could hear them moving, slow and methodical, searching the house. I crouched behind the couch, gripping my knees. My pulse hammered in my ears. A figure stepped into the living room. A hooded man, his face hidden. He turned his head slightly, scanning the room. I held my breath, praying he wouldn't see me. Then another one entered, and another. They moved with purpose, spreading out like they knew exactly what they were looking for. A floorboard creaked beneath me. The nearest one snapped his head in my direction. My body acted before my mind did. I scrambled up and bolted down the hallway. Behind me, rapid footsteps. They were chasing me. I reached the stairs and climbed them 2 at a time. I could hear them following, getting closer. My legs burned. My chest ached, but I didn't stop. I ran down the hallway, heart pounding, breath ragged. The sound of something metallic hitting the floor made me glance back for a second. A long, thin wire lay across the ground, like a noose waiting to be used. The realization sent ice through my veins. They weren't just here to scare us. They were here to kill. I ran harder, slamming into James's sturdy door with all of my strength. I slammed my fist against the door, my voice hoarse with panic. "James, please, let me in." The footsteps were getting closer. I screamed his name again. The lock clicked. The door swung open. I stumbled inside, but before I could say anything, James grabbed my arm and yanked me to the side. My body hit the floor, hard. Pain shot through my hip. James was holding a gun. He wasn't pointing it at the intruders. He was pointing it at me. His hands were shaking. His face was pale. He looked at the hooded figures and spoke to them directly. "Leave, or I'll kill her." I couldn't breathe. My own husband was using me as a hostage. I looked at him, pleading, but his eyes were filled with something I'd never seen before. Fear. The intruders didn't hesitate. One of them lunged forward, knocking the gun from his hands. Another grabbed him by the throat. James struggled, gasping for air, clawing at the hands wrapped around his neck. The thin wire dug deep into his skin. His face turned red, then purple. His legs kicked weakly. I screamed, lunged at them, but one of the men shoved me back so hard I hit the wall. My vision blurred. My ears rang. I watched as James's body twitched, then went still. They let him drop to the floor. The gun lay inches from my hand, but none of them even looked at me. They turned and walked away, stepping over his body like he was nothing. Then they were gone. The police arrived an hour later. The neighbors had called them after hearing my screams. They found me curled up in the corner of the study, staring at James's lifeless body. They took everything from his office, his computer, his hard drives, even his phone. They ignored my questions, speaking in hushed tones, avoiding my eyes. I felt like a ghost in my own home, a spectator to a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. Days later, I got the truth. The men who killed James weren't random criminals. They were something worse. They were part of a group from the deep web, so-called white hat hackers. But they weren't heroes. James had been selling organs on the black market, using his connections online to run a business hidden in the darkest corners of the internet. The people who killed him weren't thieves. They were executioners. I thought I knew my husband. I thought we had a quiet, simple life. I was wrong. And now I have to live with the fact that maybe, just maybe, he got exactly what he deserved.